Most leaders think their job is to help, step in, solve problems, be available. What if that's the exact thing holding your team back? Today, I'm sitting down with Wes Paterson, president of Paterson Consulting, right here in Medicine Hat, and author of the new book, The Hero's Rope. He's making a pretty direct argument that what we've been calling good leadership is actually creating dependency, bottlenecks, and burnout. So this conversation today is about turning that upside down and what it really looks like to build teams that don't need you to save them. Wes, I want to thank you for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me, Randy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So I would like you to start. Who is Wes Paterson? How did you end up doing what you're doing today? And then, we'll touch on the book a little bit later. But yeah, give the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So who is Wes Paterson? Well, Wes Paterson grew up in a small town called Taber, Alberta. And Taber, Alberta is sitting right between us here in Medicine Hat and in Lethbridge. So I grew up in southern Alberta amidst agriculture, oil and gas, and family was involved in pivot systems. So I have a bit of that experience growing up. We didn't grow up on a farm, but I have experience with farm life, with driving dirt roads, with
country cruising,
with escaping, yes, and escaping the small town to go to the big city of Lethbridge or the big city of Medicine Hat. I know the big draw for us back in those days was the water slides. And we no longer have that.
For sure.
Here. Growing up, I was very into a few different things. I started at the University of Lethbridge, wound up taking it more as a party when I first got there. So then I went to the work world, and by the time I got serious, then I went back and did my business schooling. And I never took necessarily a straight route into being consulting. Back when I was in business school, there wasn't anything, or I didn't know of the CMC designation, for example. I didn't know what a certified management consultant was. I was more thinking I would like to get into international business, travel. I love to travel. And those were some of my aspirations. Unfortunately, we all take different turns. I wound up getting married, and my ex-wife at the time got a job here in Medicine Hat, and that's actually what brought me to this region. So I did my schooling in Lethbridge, brought me here. And when I got here, it wasn't really the market at the time for international business. That would be more your Vancouver, your Toronto.
Even Calgary would have been a little light on that at the time, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so what was there? There was oil and gas. Yeah. So off to Halliburton I went, this small energy service company. Yeah. And the oil field is really good for some things, for financial and money. It was great for keeping a young marriage together, maybe not so great. So I learned some lessons along that way. I wound up, after I got out of oil and gas, I did a bit of a stint in sales. I did some time. At one point, I managed a small ag manufacturing company and built government programs for workforce development for people to get into oil and gas and construction. And then at one point, I got on with the college and I built their corporate training program. So that's a little bit of the background. That was prior to me creating Paterson Consulting and my own consulting firm.
How long has Paterson been around now?
So we started the business in 2017 and incorporated in 2021.
Okay. So it's new by all standards.
Yes.
And did you feel it was just kind of an itch you wanted to scratch? Like you missed that business side of things? You always knew this was something you wanted a little bit of touch point on in your life?
Well, what I found was I was really good at growing other people's business and making other people money. I was doing this a few times over. Yeah. And then I thought, well, I'm going to start a side business. So it started as part-time, doing consulting on the side. And so I was starting to do projects, but I had a job during the other time. And I would say sometimes you are in a business and you're in certain levels of a business, and they'll bring in new leadership and new management, and they don't necessarily see eye to eye with your vision. And it becomes a bit of pressure that will cause the all-stars, or the people that are really moving business forward, to exit businesses. And we see this happen a lot, especially in large organizations, large businesses.
Yeah. So do you then, in the years since you've been doing this, are you dealing with more of the large ones, or are you like, where do you like playing at? Because that's large compared to SME is a big difference, right? Where is your sweet spot?
So I think corporate training, I'm very strong in corporate training, but I'm very strong in strategy development as well. And one of the challenges with your startups, with your SMEs, is the budget, or the perceived budget. Usually when I tell people I'm a consultant in this area, they ask which rig I'm on. It's the typical. We don't understand what a management consultant is, typically in this region of the province. Calgary, Edmonton, more so.
Different story.
Toronto, absolutely. Vancouver, absolutely. And so it's not necessarily as valued. However, when we had this thing that happened called COVID, I saw many other management consultants went into full-blown panic mode because they're used to having the in-person, the meetings. And that's when I was looking at the world and how do I buy more stock in Zoom? And Google and these things, because these are the tools that I was using. And I looked at it from the vantage point of now I can be located anywhere in the world and I can do projects in Singapore. I can do projects with companies all around the world. So that was the mindset I took, and where I saw the technology moving. One of the things from the oil and gas, working in oil and gas, I got my Class 3 license. And when you're sitting in those larger trucks and you're lifted up a bit higher, you're able to see a bit farther down the road than in a Honda Civic. And I think in some ways, in terms of business, I'm able to see just a little bit further down the road. Now, sometimes it makes me come across as a crazy person when I'm talking to certain individuals. But now I'm finding more and more is I'm seeing these patterns, I'm seeing this repetition. And that's part of the reason where I saw these things happening in the global 500 companies, in your large plant facilities. These same challenges are happening with your small businesses. And that was where I took the framework, because I thought, well, if I produce a book, now there's something where that entrepreneur, that small business owner, there's areas where they can get aspects of what I'm doing at, different stages. They don't have to bring me in for a full consulting project. They can
Well, and it's interesting, right? Because, I've done a lot of reading. One of my favorite books is Good to Great, Jim Collins, right? And I think that's kind of a quintessential one, because obviously Jim references the Fortune 500s, the big boys, right? Publicly traded. That's where they garnered all the data from. But at the end of the day, as an SME, it was easy to extract some of those. And I think sometimes those problems you're seeing at the large corporate level, while they're significant there, you're right. Those problems do exist at the SME level, and they're sometimes even more amplified because it's harder to really understand what they're even about, right? Because the blinders are on so badly. Like, how do you, in an SME situation, you walk into a room with guys, maybe they've owned the business for 30, 40 years. I've been doing it this way my entire life. Therefore, I want to keep doing it this way. Obviously, if you're talking to them, they have appreciated the fact something needs to change. Right? I would think. What does that look like to really get across to somebody who's been doing it for a long time that change is necessary and change is coming, or you're on the way out, right?
What I found is you can't tell people what to do. you have to, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Dale Carnegie. You cannot tell someone. You can start by, I like to use games. I like to use different processes that allow someone to come up with their own aha. They come up with their own solution. And if the idea, you've maybe planted a seed, which leads them to come to that aha idea, then it's going to plant, then it's going to stick, then an owner's going to move forward with it. One of the companies I helped grow, the owner was an interesting character. He had a very Socratic, argumentative, questioning frame, and so we'd get into debates at time. I usually ran the company when he was spending time out in Hawaii, and I'd suggest an idea or something and be like, oh, that's crazy or whatnot. And then 2 or 3 months later, it'd be like, I have this idea. And this became like a recurring,
the best idea ever.
Recurring thing. So it's kind of like what Reagan says. It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. So those are different things to take those strategies. And I've also had the opportunity working with some of the large Global 500 companies, and one in particular that is located about an hour down the road in Brooks, Alberta, that had an extremely diverse workforce. So they had 180 countries represented, 80 different home languages, 60 different dialects.
I've heard their safety manual is epic, right? Like, it's wild.
Yes. And so you had to discover what works in leadership, what works in quality. And we had this opportunity to experiment a bit and see, okay, that didn't work. Let's cut that from the program. Let's add this piece in. And we start to learn things that could essentially be universally applied anywhere humans gathered. And so over the past 10 years, I've developed this framework. I've developed a couple different questioning models. And one of the questioning models that I actually got from a mentor of mine, that his background was chiropractic and medicine. And so that model,
it's fully questioning, right?
Was questioning model. And I just adapted that into corporations, into business, because if that's working with the patient, with the client, we can also use this in advisory work, working with the clients and in businesses and organizations.
What I love about that, actually, when you bring that analogy in with the medical profession, is now you're looking for the root cause, not just something to put a Band-Aid on.
Exactly.
Right? So you want to flesh out and dig deep, and that happens through being a questioning individual and drawing those questions out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so if I have a headache, it's not because I have lack of acetaminophen or ibuprofen in my body. Something happened. I maybe moved too much. I didn't get properly hydrated. I bumped my head. Something has caused that headache to happen. And so if we start to take that time to uncover what is the root cause, if we put on our Sherlock hat, if we start taking some time to discover that, you do that small fix, and then it creates a domino effect that can be beneficial down the line. And that is critical thinking. And that is taking the time. And I think we have some challenges now with technology coming forward. Is that we can look at technology in a couple ways. It can help us obviously amplify and do things much better, much faster than ever before. But there's never been an opportunity where one disgruntled worker could train wreck a whole organization faster than ever before. And we're already seeing when AI goes off the guardrails, it's wiping out whole companies' databases. So we need to be mindful of these areas. Yeah,
things are changing at a pace I don't think we could ever predict it even 5 years ago, right? What when you're with some of these people you're sitting in the room with and you're talking about change. So I am somebody who I've had a consultant in, back in 2021, 2022. I didn't have the best experience with it, and I want to share, someone gave me the definition of a consultant, and I absolutely love it. Consultant is like a seagull. They just shit on everything. But I also know there's big value. So it's an opportunity now, I guess, to go, it wasn't a great experience, but I also know there were seeds planted, 4 or 5 years ago that, we're now acting on today, right? I think one of the biggest challenges, and I'd love to get your feedback on this, is as a business owner, when you bring somebody in to help maybe see a side of your business you can't see, right? It's that blind spot. How do you communicate to them that the way I viewed it is what you're doing in that moment is really the easy part. Hard work is what comes afterwards, right? To actually start implementing this change. That's for me, if I'm being honest, that's where I don't think I was fully understood as the business owner what was coming after that initial assessment happened, right? It's hard, and it is a shitload of work.
Well, and if we look at municipalities, how sometimes they will spend money and they'll do a study, then they'll do another study. And so we hear them bringing in a consultant, and there goes $500K, and there goes $90K, and there goes this, and the studies. And that's all well and good to do the study. But I think people are forgetting to ask the question exactly like you posed there, Randy. Yeah. What happens next with implementation? And a lot of the concepts that I'm using, they're not new. I've packaged these.
Good one. Hey,
I've packaged these in a model where it's new. So the 20 questions, I've expanded that because people would ask me, well, how do I deal with this? Well, how do I address that? So I made the book, I won't say dummy proof, but almost to the point where anyone can do it. You can go about it. You don't have to read it linear. You can look at it non-linear. I've created other assessment tools, a leadership assessment tool where you can go through a questioning process and it'll tell you exactly which chapters are probably best for you. I've adapted the true colors. There's different personality tests that we can do. So each chapter, if you've done that, you can either bring in a colors facilitator if you don't know what your colors are. There's online tools. We've created an online tool to quickly assess that as well. And though I do recommend having an actual facilitator do that because it's a great experience to go through, I've also included that in every chapter. So if usually people will resonate or they'll lean into one or two. We have all four, but maybe we're the person who likes comfort. Yeah. We like to make sure the relationship, and we like cozy, everything to feel comfortable and cozy. Relationship, that might be more of a blue person, whereas someone who's very data, doing the research, they're going on Google, they're looking at all the latest trends into innovation, that might be more your analytical green, or the person that's just a complete rebel. Goes
off the rails whenever they want.
Forget the rules, but they're just like action, snap, go.
Let's get things done.
Yeah, that's your orange, and then your gold is your more traditional, organized, show me the budget, show me the numbers, the CFOs, the accountants, the bankers, they often, we see teachers
all make
even.
Decisions based on data, right?
They are rule people. The orange is anti-rule. Yeah. But it's funny because sometimes people will have a bit of a dichotomy, and their top two colors are gold and orange. So at times they're rules, at times they're non-rules. So the rules apply for you, but not for me. And so sometimes when you have business owners that are that way, it also confuses staff.
Absolutely, right? It does. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the book. You just did a nice little, thing in there. I'm gonna grab it here. I'll do it as well. Hero's Rope. Huge accomplishment, and congratulations. What was it like writing a book before we get into the book? When did you know you wanted to do this? How long did it take? And you still have your hair, so it couldn't have been that hard.
So I'd say I've been using the framework for over a decade.
Okay.
I've had in about 5 years in my head, I should write a book, or this would be a good concept for a book. it probably took me 3.5 years of thinking about it before I actually started taking the practical action to write it. And one of the things that really leads me towards action is I signed on with a publisher and an accelerator program. So
did you?
I was then, and it was to write a book rapidly. I didn't write it in the speed they were saying you could write a book in 3 to 4 months. It took me longer than that. I would say when all was said and done, it took about a year to a year and a half.
Okay.
I had the opportunity to talk to a mentor of mine. I've read many of his books. I consider him a mentor. He's another author.
Yeah.
And I chatted with him last summer about his writing process and that. And he said, just write every day. Doesn't matter how long.
Oh, interesting.
If you want to start, write 5, write 10, write 15 minutes. I found the first chapter took me the longest, Randy. And once I had the first chapter, I just replicated that model for the other 19. And I found some of my best writing time was at night when I had no distraction, I had no disturbance. Everyone was asleep. There's times my wife would come down at 3 a.m. You're still up. But it was that point where I could throw on my headset.
Sure.
I could throw on binaural beats, get myself into an alpha state, and I'd have my notes. I knew the frameworks. I just now had to put that construct together. And now that once I had that, it was easy to replicate the model. I did, after I wrote the book, I then played around with some things because now we have all these AI tools and different things. So I actually took, once I had the finished manuscript, and that was a little bit of back and forth to the point where I had to decide it's good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're probably always like, oh, I could change this. And I'm sure you still do. You probably read, if you
I look
read
at
it
it
again,
now, I'm like, I could do this, I could do this.
Yeah. We're our own worst critic, right?
And that's where this author mentor said, well, that's for the second edition.
Yeah, there you go.
That's for the third edition. That's for future. Or do this next. You want to get the book out. And talking, or people that have talked about that, I shouldn't say talking, like John Maxwell.
Sure.
He talks about, I wrote a book 20 years ago and the new edition is 70% different.
Probably a few of them on the bookshelf over there.
Well, and I'm noticing your laws of leadership and the different levels of leadership too. And I use the level of leadership a lot. I see your Lencioni, the 5 dysfunction of the teams, and both of them have pyramid models. And so we look at Lencioni, lack of trust. Well, again, if you don't have a foundation built on trust,
you have no foundation.
Your communication and all of that just dominoes. So same thing with the levels of leadership. Maxwell talks about the positional level leader. Do what I say because
lowest level.
I told you to. It's carrot and stick. It reminds me a lot of the oil and gas in the heyday.
Sure.
And people were just jumping to companies for a couple extra bucks an hour. And that was what people were attracting. They were getting pulled just strictly by the money. Often managers there, you're seen as a number, lots of these in large organizations. And that's it, rewards, punishment, positional level.
And I don't think anybody for a lot of years, and it still happens today, I don't think anybody actually, like when they hire a leadership position, I'm not sure they're actually really trying to hire anyone who knows how to lead. Often what I've seen is just, well, I'm hiring this person because they've been here the longest. So, do they actually know how to lead somebody? And that's where I find, Maxwell's positional leadership, lowest level, right? It's like, I got a title, therefore I am. Mm-hmm. Well, the title means nothing. It's what you do with it that really matters.
Well, exactly. And then when he builds on that model, the next level is relational. So now you're starting to do another concept, which is called psychological capital. Mm-hmm. And psychological capital is if we both had invisible piggy banks
Yeah.
here. And you did a good job. And I came over, Randy, that was really good. And, well done.
Yeah.
I've now made a deposit.
Yeah.
An example that I love, and Brian Angelic, he shared this example with me. So I'm going to share Brian's example, is if it's my wife's birthday and I bring her flowers, that's going to have a certain level depending on if she likes flowers or not, or she was expecting more for her birthday than flowers. But if today I decide to just stop by the flower shop, bring her flowers unexpectedly, that would be a lot larger deposit. So we have these opportunities all the time in work to be making these psychological deposits with our employees, with our staff, and it doesn't have to be much. One of the things that I say is it's a loud, noisy plant. It could be this thing as simple as a smile.
Yeah.
We just upturn. It could be walking around, thumbs up, giving people a thumbs up. If they go like this, so, maybe we come over, have a more in-depth conversation. What's happening?
Yeah.
We take a minute there to acknowledge, they address that. If we get a thumbs down, then, okay, this is probably...
We're going to have a chat.
Something's
going
major.
on.
And just teaching this concept, for example, in that large plant facility, multi-languages, you could walk around, you might be overseeing 60 people on the floor, but now you're making a quick human connection. You're going to where the action is. You're doing your Gemba walk. You're not sitting isolated in your office. And then you're starting to empower people if you add in training to give them things, for example, lean tools. If you teach people how to identify the problems, then you're taking advantage of the number one waste, which is underutilized human capital.
Yeah.
And so we see this all over. What a lot of managers mistake is and a lot of people mistake this, is taking rescue behavior rather than doing behavior that would be effectively helping another person. And that is really where we dive into these behaviors, what they are, how to recognize them, and how to recognize them in yourself, how to also lead teams through these processes. And it starts to, when people start to discover and learn something, because everybody is most interested in themselves.
Yeah.
And if we start to invest in employees, we can see data, and Gartner's put this research out, that something as simple as a half-day workshop could increase retention 18 months in a position. And so we took an industry that North American average has a 60 to 70% turnover rate in plants throughout North America. Some plants in the US have as high as 120% because, again, some of the positions, some of the work, it's humid, it's hot, it's physically demanding. There's a lot of thing here.
Go build tires at Goodyear.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Miserable work.
So some of this is miserable work. So how do we bring that buy-in? How do we tie that to incentive programs to the point where we brought that plant facility to number one in the world on all major KPIs and 7% turnover rate in an industry where
you're seeing 70.
Yeah, 10 times that. So that's when you have leadership. You have to have some leaders that believe in that.
Yeah.
And that was doing some of the work with this company. When you're working with other companies and then you see maybe you're also working in a large company and you see the opposite of that, there comes a point, and this is where I crossed that point where, and I was having discussions with HR and different people at the organization of, well, Wes, this will just turn over, and, kind of hinting at things like things are going to change in this. And I just made a personal decision at a point in time where I said, well, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Because I know what is working. I know what is valuable of, standing this line and doing this, right?
Yep.
When you know what is right, you can no longer do what's wrong and not have it eat inside you.
Sure it does. Yeah. You you have to put the next foot forward, right? And the right foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when it comes to hero culture, so I told you I didn't didn't have a chance to read it, obviously. But I did some research, right? And I found it really interesting because I think as leaders, we find it giving feedback can be quite easy, right? Knowing when it is productive and useful feedback versus just butting our nose in to do the work can be something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm experiencing this right now. I was pulling my hair out on the weekend because it's like you're trying to empower people who might be new in their roles. Mm-hmm. You need to train, you need to guide, you need to support. But then when you don't see it getting done, maybe as you'd like to see it getting done or as quickly as you'd like to see it getting done, you just want to step in and do it, right? But what you're saying is that is, yeah, I'll let you use your words rather than mine.
Well, you're jumping into save the day.
Yeah.
You're jumping to the save today and you're recognizing, and especially being a business owner and this, you're seeing, if it's done wrong, like I could do this faster with my time. And the reality is lots of businesses will promote, and we kind of talked about that. You promote your all-star, that's your top lead guy in this area. And now you move them into a supervisory manager role. But what you forgot to do was teach that individual supervisory manager skill sets, or even see if that person
see if they can even do it, right? Yeah.
Yes. And so there's a term, it's known as the Peter principle.
Yeah.
It's where we'll keep promoting people to the level to the point where they're incompetent, and then they just stay in that incompetent role. And so we see this lots in government. We see this lots in organizations, in middle, senior management positions, where someone can get tenure, get a position where they can just start loafing, and they're not being held to performance evaluations, to accountability checks, and they're not continually improving their craft. So the other challenge is that makes work really boring. Ultimately, humans want to feel satisfied. If we look at Maslow, another pyramid, the top end is to move your way up to self-actualization, is to be doing and contributing something of great worth that can essentially live beyond you, to create that legacy. Maxwell calls it the pinnacle. Once you get up, or you always are wanting to approach the summit of the mountain and that pinnacle. So we need to allow people the opportunity to learn, and sometimes learning is skinning your knees a bit. Sometimes learning is falling down. The first child we have, usually we're new parents, we're walking right behind them. By the time it's the third, they're juggling knives, like, catch the handles,
Good luck.
But these are the same things we have to do within our organizations. We have to set up things so people can fail, but fail small. Learn, relearn. So we want to try to have those opportunities to learn and fail on a small, not so they're losing a finger, losing an appendage if it's health and safety, but so that they can find those errors and then learn the lesson, and then use that as a questioning process of, how would you change this next time? How will you act in the future? How will you take that on? One of the things that I absolutely hate is the shit sandwich. Yep. It's where, you say something good, you throw in the shit, and then you say something.
You bookend it, right?
No one, that creates no value.
No.
You're better off to go straight, direct, be authentic, say, this is the issue. This is this. And the reason I'm coming to talk to you is I know you can do better because I've seen this.
Yeah.
That is far better, because now that person recognizes clearly what was done not to that level. You've presented examples of where they have that capability. And one of the things that I use sometimes in consulting, sometimes when I'm working with companies to recognize whether this is a performance or a training or we need coaching, I've actually created a bit of a diagram. And well, I didn't create it. I use it. It was created by some guy smarter than me. But it's an easy process to start running people through to understand, were people properly trained? Was this a job description? I recently did a talk on recruiting with AI.
Sure.
And I spent about 10% of the talk to industry and the people in the room on the actual tools for AI.
Yep.
And I spent the majority of the talk, if you're creating this candy-coated position, and now you've done a bait and switch and they arrive at the organization, say, this is now they're dropping down, their expectations are unmet. You're better to be honest and say, like, these are the challenges we're having.
Yeah.
And take the approach like Steve Jobs, and we've hired you because you're bright, smart, and we expect you to come up with these solutions. Throw that challenge out.
Yeah.
And when you throw that challenge out, now you allow your staff, your employees to have their own hero's journey.
Right.
And the hero's journey is not going to be easy. Every great movie we see, the Star Wars, we see the Lord of the Rings. It's not just a cushy walk to Mordor to take that ring. So they have to go through those trials. And that's the same thing that's going to build competency, but it's also going to build value. And that's going to increase the level that people stick around, because your top performers, they want that challenge. They thrive on that. And when they recognize that they have the challenge and the ability to affect change and then be rewarded for work well done, those are the healthy things that will help drive businesses forward. But so many businesses don't want to take the time because we're in such a prescription society. We take the pill for the headache. We're just treating these symptoms at the symptom
Band-Aids on
level.
bullet holes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of things I want to touch on here, and I bet you don't have it on the book. Instead of a shit sandwich, we should give them an open-faced shit sandwich, right? Just don't sugarcoat the beginning. Just go right into the shit. Fear of failure. Like, I talk a lot on this, and to me, this is 100% a leadership issue right now. Is business, industry, whatever. I think we hear often that, we support failure around here. But I don't really think a lot of people understand how important that support of failure is. We're not talking the support of basic failures. Like if somebody forgets to put a bolt and a scaffolding falls down, we can't repeat that, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to have a consequence to it. But intelligent failure, creating an environment, and that's why I say it's a leadership issue, creating an environment within a business, a culture within a business of failure being critical to the development and learning of individuals, to the development and learning of the business as a whole to get better, is a huge component. Do you think businesses truly understand what an environment or a culture of learning and fear of failure really is?
No.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Most don't. And especially when we look at the small, medium-sized business, because the founder had the dream, they did some things right, but they took the risk.
Yeah.
They took that risk. And now when you've built something, there's that challenge to, I put this in, I did this to this point, but now for me to give up some of that,
right,
someone else might fail and train wreck everything I've done, and this took years and that. So there's a lot of that tied in. So they have the leader has a fear of failure. Mm-hmm. So often if you have a culture that has a fear of failure, it's because the leader has a fear of failure. And this is not uncommon, because if we look at our school system, we're not saying all the rights you got. We're saying, you got those two wrong.
Right.
And you got this. So we're pointing out the mistakes, the error. We're shining the light on the error. We're not shining the light on the things that were done well. So we're actually creating that fear, the fear to make a mistake, the fear to fail. When we're little kids, we're explorative, we're crazy, we're running around, and then we get conditioned and we
go to school.
School.
Not slamming school systems here, but I'm kind of slamming school system. But it is ingrained. You just said it, right? We look at, you got 80%. Well, that means you got 20% wrong.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk about the 20% you got wrong, right? We go home. How'd you do on your test? I know you've had these moments with your kids, right? We're not celebrating getting 75. We're going, well, what happened to the other 25?
Absolutely.
And it does. It becomes this fear of, and then we bring that attitude into the workforce. And then you get older gentlemen, the boomers, whatever, which is the only way we fix failure is by whacking you upside the back of the head because you did something stupid, right? Instead of actually acknowledging the fact that for you to get better, you need to be trained in how to do it. In order for you to be trained in how to do it, it's going to take you doing it, you sucking at it probably a number of times, and then getting better at it. But that's a journey. And I loved what you said about start small. Because what does that mean?
Exactly. Start small. So these don't have to be big catastrophic, like create an environment where they can purposely have small failures. So one of the things that, and I'll give an example of a training program that we did. There used to be a company called Mobile Escape, and they were out of Calgary. And so we could bring escape rooms, portable escape rooms, to the plant or the facility site. And so we could combine this with training development we were doing on site. And one of the things that I found to be a tremendous amount of fun would be to take a lot of the senior leaders and managers and throw 4 or 5 of them in the escape room because they'd never escape.
They're stuck.
Because everybody was good at barking orders and this, and nobody could take direction or adjust in a role, and there's the egos and,
it's not
funny,
no,
that's not the right way. That's not, like, so no one was taking that time. Whereas if we had, different talents and different skill sets, those would escape. And so then I'd use that as a learning moment for the senior leaders. I'd be like, hey, wait one second.
What took you so long?
What happened here? You guys are in this role and they're in this role.
Yeah.
And so that's where it could be a bit of banter. At one point, I know a CEO, I kind of threw him a little bit under the bus because they were coming in and observing, seeing some things. And we were going through something where we were talking about work-life balance. And to quote again, one of my mentors, he said, I just have a life.
There you go.
So looking at things, we're looking at this balance, but, the life's yours. The life's, you design your life, you design it to what that fit is.
Yep.
And if you set that up and you create those job roles, and we actually think about what that job role is, okay, now let's actually hand this to a coworker. Is this what that role is? No. Okay, rewrite it. Okay, what are some of the challenges? Okay, now feed that into the AI and now write a role that's more authentic to what the job is. And so talk about the stresses, talk about the challenges, but then talk about the positive things. And just by doing this, you're building that level 2, that relational. Now the people are going to trust you. They're going to follow you because they like you. Their kid's sick. They can't come in, or they have to take them to the doctor. You're understanding for that. You need them to stay 5-10 minutes later because we got to push out an order. They're understanding. So we have this reciprocity happening where people aren't keeping these scorecards anymore.
Yeah.
And we talk about that in one of the chapters, is the gratitude accountant.
Yeah.
And sometimes we do keep these invisible scorecards. And that's one of the challenges too. And being a leader is, if you're an effective leader, and actually if you're an effective manager, you should be very similar to the Maytag repairman. You should be like, because if you've done really good in managing,
your touch points are small, right?
Yeah, you're kind of going around, and now you're just doing those quick check-ins. And how's everything going? Thumbs up, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. And you should be able to leave for an afternoon, come back. Everything is progressing. If you're a business owner, the same. You can go for a couple weeks, you come back, everything's moving forward. You maybe have to check the odd email while you're away, but people are empowered and they're actually able to take those roles and run your company. And if you're building a company, that should be the point. Lots of small, medium-sized businesses, they've created a job for themselves.
Sure, they have.
They've created a job, and they've created a worse boss, usually themselves.
Yeah.
And I can use my dad as an example. So for years, he was putting in 120-hour work weeks running his business. It wasn't until he went through a program they used to run it here in Texas and Vancouver called Choices.
Yeah.
And when he went through that program, he shifted. He started to actually think, well, what do I want my life to look like? What do I want the next remaining time in my business to look at? And then he shifted to this thing that's beautiful. It's called delegation.
Yeah.
And so if we learn how to delegate and how to pass those things on, but right now, if everyone's fear of failure, then who are they going to run to? They're going to run to the supervisor. They're going to run to the manager. They're going to run to the leader. We need to check
going nowhere, right? Like you're moving, but you're not progressing.
Exactly.
Right? You're just going like this. It's like a pinball machine. I think it's really important too, delegation is great, but we also can't confuse it with abdication, right? Because I've seen it work on the other side, which is everyone's like, okay, I need to delegate this. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, they've simply abdicated their own responsibilities. They've let the person sink or swim on their own, but that's not what we're talking about here, right?
No. Because we want to train the person to be successful.
Yeah.
We're not send the person up to look a fool.
That's a leader's job, right?
Yes.
Our job as leaders is to allow and create environments for people to be successful.
Yes.
When it comes to the book, would you say in your experiences that there is one common way that leaders consistently try to rescue their teams, or one common theme that arrives from a rescue mindset for a leader?
Micromanagement.
Okay.
Micromanagement.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that comes in different forms.
Yeah.
And micromanagement, basically, be honest with micromanagement. I don't trust you. I don't think you're capable.
Yep.
I don't know what you're up to. If I have an all-star salesperson and they're bringing in the revenue, do I care how they're doing that? As long as they're not breaking laws.
I was just going to say, as long as they're not breaking the law. Yeah.
So if they're spending 3 hours on the golf course, but that's how they're building these leads and getting new business, and that, some people do it that way. There's no one way or one method to close the sale. At the end of the day, it's to close the sale.
Yeah.
But what we're starting to do is we're starting to bring in these systems, these Big Brother, did you update your CRM?
Yeah.
Did you do this tracking? And we're starting to confuse busy work
with
and
progress.
Activity with actual productivity, where
is
if we can address that key root cause, that's going to provide so much more value. Dr. Bandler, so he was one of the founders of neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
And so Anthony Robbins, essentially when he got started, he had Jim Rohn was one of his mentors. And
love Jim. He
took neuro-linguistic programming from Dr. Bandler and Dr. Grinder, who created that model. And Dr. Bandler, he created a sales program, and he was doing work with Mercedes. And so he showed up in a Midwestern town, and everyone was whining. The economy, things were slow. Everyone's boohoo. And he said, well, I don't know how to write up your paperwork, but if I could have someone that'd be willing to do the paperwork, I'd like to make a friendly wager that I could outsell everyone here in this business. And so, some of the top sales guys there were just like, what are you talking about in this? And so one of the finance ladies from behind the desk came, I'll do the paperwork. He said, okay.
Yeah, she's like, I want to see this.
So he found one of the like newest model cars on the lot. He said, "Where are the keys?" "Oh, they're right here." "Okay, I'll be back." And so he took off in the car, and everyone's like confused because he's gone for about an hour or so. And he rolls back, and he has 3 people in the car with him. They're getting out. He's like, "This guy's buying it, and these 2 are ordering." And they're just like,
What happened?
What happened?" "Well, he just rolled up to the country club.
Yep.
People were out there sitting,
That's where your
enjoying their
clients
drinks.
are.
He went to where the customer was. He opened the doors. He had the stereo playing. Everyone saw
Yep.
him rev the engine. He walked in. Who wants to feel great for the rest of their lives?
I love it.
And he just did this boisterous thing and, disrupted. He did something unique and different.
Yeah.
And these are things that start to get noticed. So you have to be willing to do some unique things. I
Sure.
spend some time mentoring the upcoming MBAs and people in business school. And when I work on projects with them, I say, let's do a project, but let's look at this. I want you to add the you into it, the creativity. And
Who are you?
Often they'll go into the business theory and this. I'm like, okay, you have your school and your class for the theory. I don't need to know the theory. Pull whatever theories you think are valuable, throw whatever out. Take the Bruce Lee mindset.
There you go.
Take what works for you. What works for you might not work for me. Use the tools that you can use and you're comfortable with and deploy. So some people are like, what's the best CRM? What's the best ERP? Oh, whichever one works best for you.
What works for you might not work for me. Simple as that.
Exactly. But sometimes we get in these large businesses, you must do this, you must force this, you must do this. And then we pull people away from the parts of their job where they're actually providing true value.
Yeah.
And we get them doing things that they have no value. And those are things that we could bring in someone, for example, for admin work. So it doesn't make sense for the doctor who's running a clinic to be answering the phones.
Sure.
When he can bring someone in at X rate, he can charge far more to be seeing the patients. That's who he needs to be seeing. He needs to have the patients coming in, and he needs to have good organizational administration staff that can keep that flow going. So he can see as many patients back to back. They can have different rooms. He can just go room to room. They're handing the right chart, not the wrong chart. So again, that's kind of part. And so a lot of the behind the scenes, there's people that love doing that administration side. There's people that hate doing it. So don't put the person that hates doing that in that role. What are their loves? What are their talents? What are their skill sets? Let's tap into those. Let's leverage that human skill, that capital. And so sometimes that's having that honest look at the organization.
Sure it is.
Is this the right role for you? And when we look at that, sometimes people will say, well, no, this maybe
I hate it.
isn't the right role. And and if they're a value to the organization, then we should look at that person as a value. Can we retrain? Can we reskill? Can we cross-skill? Can we cross-train?
Is there another seat for them?
Absolutely.
Right? Like where you're the right person on the bus, you're just sitting in the wrong seat right now.
Yeah.
Right? You're valued. Where can we put you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I as you were talking there, so kind of funny, timing is everything. I have a friend of mine on the phone with him this morning, works for a corporate, publicly traded company. His exact words to me today, he lives in Calgary and he's going to know I'm talking about him if he watches this. He said, I put essentially millions of dollars on the bottom line every single year. The people that I work for have no idea what I do and how I do it, yet they continually show up and try to tell me how to do it. Right? So it's that guy with, who cares? Mm-hmm. Like, do you want the bottom line? And he's not breaking any laws. Mm-hmm. But corporate is like, I don't see your CRM full. My CRM doesn't need to be full, right? What I'm doing is different. And that, he is so frustrated. And this is a guy that's been doing it. It's beyond valuable to this organization, beyond valuable. Mm-hmm. But that corporate mindset is getting in the way and frustrating him. And you got to see that over and over and over, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a great way to run off your stars.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, because the next words out of his mouth, I can't repeat. So, but they weren't I love what I'm doing right now. They were built purely on frustration, right? I don't need to be micromanaged. I don't need to fill my CRM. I don't need to do all these systems and processes. I know what I'm doing. Just let me do it, right? And I think often we get stuck in this mindset of, no, there's a way we have to do this. This is the way everybody has to do it. And it's easier, I think, as a business owner, thinking that way lineally, right? Giving flexibility is hard to people.
Well, it is hard. And guess what's going to happen in the next 5 years is things are going to get disrupted. Things are going to move faster than ever before. And so those that are able to shift, to bend back and forth, and we're seeing large institutions. If I look at this from a consulting standpoint, look at the large big four. Look at them. They're in situations where I recognize, A, I'm not a threat to them, but B, they're kind of like a giant cruise ship.
Sure.
Whereas me being small and nimble, I'm like that cigar boat. So I can adjust. I can do different things. I can take more risks, but that's because I built my company by the design that I want it to be for my lifestyle, for my work. My goal is not to build,
KPMG
and MNP and EY.
Yes.
I'm happy to do talks, and I have done talks and presentations to KPMG. I did one at EY back in December. And so at that talk, we were talking about AI, and some people were of the mindset of AI is going to wipe out consultants. We're not going to need consultants anymore. And I brought in Dr. Shapiro from the University of Lethbridge to do a keynote, and he was talking about the realities of AI. And he said, they recently said AI is at PhD level. Well, I asked it to create me on a map and where Lethbridge is, and you could see him on a map, and somewhere in the Northwest US where it's showing him standing by Lethbridge, right? So because I wanted to explain it to you, people in Calgary where Lethbridge is on the map. And even just making a spelling mistake in AI, he said to make a image of a cat eating spaghetti, and he typed in car. So then he had pictures of the spaghetti coming out of the fenders. So now if you're just putting these small mistakes into the AI prompt, you're going to challenge that. And one of the things to recognize is if you're a really good manager, you're able to give very clear, detailed, concise, take that time to listen. You recognize I have 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. All these aspects. You're going to also probably adapt very well to digital, to AI prompting, because you're able to give clear,
concise instructions
to the AI, to the human. So that skill will transcend and work together. Another thing we look at is when we become very high-tech focused, we start to, because humans are lazy. And people can focus on one ball at a time. Typically.
Multitasking doesn't exist. I'm a firm believer in that. We just do a lot of things really poorly.
So we focus on one at a time. And so if we're really focused on this high tech, we start to forget about that high touch. And then we automate stupidity into our systems. And so if we take a poor process and we add AI and automation to that, we've just created
amplifying
a downward amplification. So we can amplify upward, we can amplify downward. But doing that, typical to what that organization is doing, they run the risk of him leaving. They run the risk of him going to a competitor and taking a big chunk of the market share with them. They also run the risk of him setting up his own shop and just, going that way. And now it's never been easier for someone to do that, to create competitors. And so these are things that we want to be mindful of in valuing people. Now, another thing that I would recommend to him is to go on our website and play around with the AI tool that we've built. So we've actually built a tool where I've taken the whole book in and I've created a cheeky AI that I call the rope coach. And so you can go on to the pattersonconsulting.ca
Yeah.
and he could type in his woes. He could type in, I'm dealing with a micromanager. He could say that exact thing, and the rope coach would give him specific feedback and method on how to approach it. Because I had this very same conversation. I went through this exact same process with someone dealing, different company, different thing, but I've heard this exact same story. It's funny when I go into organizations and I work on conflict management, communication, because companies don't call me when everything's status quo, Randy.
No.
It's when things are taking downward.
We got 911s. We've got places on fire.
Investigations.
Yeah. They're not even calling you when they smell smoke or see smoke, right? Smell fire. Like, we're well past that stage probably.
Exactly. And it's funny because, people aren't dumb. It's like, oh, now we're doing this. I wonder why you're here.
You're not here by accident.
I wonder why we're doing this course now. And so I won't say a company I was doing this with rather recently, but we're doing a program like this. And one of the participants said, well, HR and management must have told you all this. I'm like, no. He said, well, how did you know this? So I said, because it's happening everywhere.
Right. You're not unique.
You think you are because you're in the thick of it. So it seems the drama and the pain and the challenge and the frustration, you're living it. But other people are living different versions of this. We're just seeing, there's different names in this. So when I change stories, because I do share some stories, some are public, public examples that have been around that I do share public examples like big companies, Netflix, Google, Apple in the book, Patagonia. So I share those public examples, but then I have other examples where I've changed the names and the situations around. But you'll recognize as you read the book, these stories happening in different industries.
Sure.
And that's one of the reasons I can work in such diverse industries is because the foundational level stays the same.
Yeah.
And as a good consultant, as a good advisor, I'm going in not with the answer. I'm going in with my Sherlock hat of trying to uncover that. Yeah. And then I want to help the group come up with those answers. And they've brought me in. The bringing me in means I'm no longer rescuing.
Right.
I've been brought in to help. So the people that are in the professions that are rescuers, the firefighters.
Oh, they exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The lifeguards, the soldiers, the EMTs, they're putting themselves in some level of risk and harm's way, but they're being a compensation, a wage, and they recognize that. Police officers, for example. Yeah. Huge thing. And they're dealing with those things day in, day out. But they're also, that's part of their job, part of their rescue role. The challenge is many of us have this hero culture and we praise the hero. And I grew up in the 80s and the 90s and the action heroes like the Arnold and Rambo.
Yep.
Yeah, Rocky.
Yep.
Those were all the people that we looked up to and admired. And so we want to be the hero. But who says, I'm broken, please fix me?
Yeah.
I have tons of please fix me. And it took me, going through, I'm now in a second marriage, but it took me a couple things of recognizing maybe it's for me to pause, ask the question, because as men, and I think this is something that we do as men more traditionally, is we're used to solving problems. Yeah. We're getting in there and fixing and this. And sometimes our spouse or our partner has an issue and we come in and we want to fix and we want to...
How does that work?
Do that. And maybe it was just...
Listen.
We just need to be listening. We just need to be that sounding board. So it's to check our assumptions at the door. And being in oil and gas, I think...
Dude, that's hard, though. Like, come on. like?
It is hard.
Oh, it's brutal.
It is hard, and it never ends.
No, I know. It's one of the hardest things, running a business or even running a family, running a household. Not running, but participating in a household is a better way to say it, is knowing when to let off the gas, right? And just, okay, we're just going to go for a Sunday drive, and we're going to share stories, and we're going to hear and actually listen and try to solve things together.
Absolutely. And in some ways, being a consultant, an advisor, and a coach and a trainer, I could go into these other organizations and I go, but I don't stay there as the permanent fixture.
Sure.
I go, I do what I need to do, and I
at some point, ideally,
ends, and maybe I come back for a new reason in that. Whereas in your own family, it's there 24/7.
Have you become a better husband out of this?
I think so.
I think I have. That's good.
And probably my best review I had was, again, I shared some of it while I was writing with my wife, but it was when she actually got the book and she's like, this is actually good. And we're a blended family. So my son Ryan was out, and she said to Ryan, she said, your dad's like really smart. Like, this is actually really, like, she doesn't say it to me.
No.
But she says it
indirectly
to Ryan. Yeah. Ryan says, oh, Jen just said this and this and this. And so that was probably the biggest thing. But she looks at it, these questions to her, and she's looking at it from, I can use this in my parenting. I can use this in relational. And you can use it. It's targeted to in the frame for business managers. But the questions are life questions. The questions are human questions. Yeah. And as long as we have humans in some way, shape, or form involved in the process, we're going to keep going through this dilemma. And one of the things, a good mentor, as I was working towards becoming a CMC and going through that process, Kevin Schwanker, he used the analogy of a seesaw. Really being a good management consultant is having this balancing act between project management and change management.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm kind of having a laugh here in the back of my mind, just thinking about how, just about my kids. And it's like, how many times have you rescued your kids, right? Stepped in to solve them from, as they get older. Like, I think our kids are roughly, very close to the same age from our earlier conversation. And I think about all those times, and you just want to do right. You want to do right by them, and you want to help them. You want to not see them make all those same mistakes you made, right? But we need to, right? We can't be the hero jumping in to save the day. It's doing a disservice.
Absolutely. And I would say you don't get a manual when you become a parent. There probably should be a mandatory parenting class that is offered. I think that would be a great service for the community. If people, had to go to at least this level, here's some basic parenting, but that's not.
Just buy the book.
Yeah, buy the book. Buy the book.
I think in a way, this isn't a business book. This is a life book. We've touched on marriage, kids, business, but it's all the same, right?
Absolutely.
Those lessons, those leadership lessons exist in every single part of our life. I'm super excited to read this now. We are running out of time. We're going to have to do a 2.0 on this, kind of like you said about your publisher there who said, there's going to be a V2 down the road. I don't even think we really touched. We talked a lot about it, but not as much as I wanted to. But I want to at least give you an opportunity right now. The book was just released within the last month here.
Yes.
So a couple things. One is, where can somebody get it? Which I know Amazon is one place. Is that the only place?
So Amazon is not the only place you can get it. So bookstores can get it through Ingram Spark.
Okay.
And so we're trying to spread awareness now to bookstores that's available there. They get a very healthy wholesale discount. There's also a program that we have the book set up for bookstores, for libraries. Well, it might not be the same for libraries. Libraries will get the healthy discount. But for bookstores, they'll get the discount. And let's say that stock doesn't move. It's sitting for 12, 18 months, whatever that timeline is. They can send the book back if the product's not moving, and they get their full refund. So it's really a no risk for bookstores to start to bring it in. It's interesting, the market, because it's available worldwide on Amazon.
Yeah.
We hit #1 bestseller for organizational change.
That. Unreal.
In our first 48 hours. So I was sure to screenshot and, and capture all those metrics. So that was very encouraging and unexpected. We've had a few companies that have ordered bulk, and so I have some bulk deals. So if you order, 15 books, 30 books, there's certain bonuses that you get in addition. So you just have to send me the receipts of purchase, or there's also been people that have bulk ordered author copies from myself, so I can do that as well. Interesting though, like Walmart in the US is carrying it, but not on walmart.ca yet. So it's kind of, and we were having an earlier conversation about
Canada, US.
Yeah,
I know.
And when it comes to, and again, I'm going to use an example from another colleague, mentor, Jeff Griffiths.
Yeah.
When it comes to hockey, we're right in there. We're ready to battle like Canada versus the US. We're doing that. We don't play business in Canada like we play hockey. And I think Canada has to start looking at hockey business.
Yeah.
Hockey business.
Bring that mindset.
Absolutely.
It's a war, right? Like, and you got to go to battle. You got to get in the corners. You got to get dirty.
And there's strategy.
And there's strategy.
And there's plays.
Yes. There's teammates.
And there's putting that time to think about strategy and play. Yeah. Because you can be the firefighter in your business.
Yeah.
Just running around, putting out the next fire, or you can be the strategist and start to identify those root causes so those fires don't start in the first place, or mitigate them once they do. And if you can, elevate your team, if you elevate yourself as a leader, and this is another Maxwellism, the team will only elevate to the level of the leader. So if the leader is a level 3,
that's the ceiling.
You've blocked it. You've blocked everyone from going any higher. And one of the things we see too, with all the businesses wanting to do productivity initiatives right now, is 95% of those will fail. And the reason they'll fail is because they're being led by a level 1 leader. A positional level leader is trying to push productivity, and they forgot about this little thing: trust, relationship. All of those Lencioni model goodness.
We could do a whole talk on productivity. That's a rabbit hole I would go deep down. Right
Maybe
now.
That'll be our next talk.
I think it might have a good chunk to do with it, because I can see a lot of tie-ins with this as well. But Wes, I really want to thank you for coming in today. It's funny, we talked about starting out here how, I usually have a bit of a framework script. Did not stick to that at all, which I loved, right? It was good. Like I said, we didn't touch a whole lot. It didn't get as deep in the book as I was hoping to, but I see a V2 coming up for you and I. But I want to thank you for your time today. It was, a pleasure to sit in a room with you, get to know you a little bit better for sure. And, excited I think we may have an opportunity to work together coming up here too, it sounds like. So
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, Randy. And yes, Heroes Rope, check it out. Available everywhere.
Love it. We'll put a little thing on the bottom too. So awesome. Thanks, Wes.
Thank you.